Welcome to the first part of a 4-part series where I'll be dealing with designing exceptional characters. The other parts, this one will be about designing male characters, and the subsequent ones will deal with designing black female characters as well as young and old characters as well. First of all, let me start by saying this, that there are black people all around the world. There are black people living everywhere, but I will be focusing on designing characters inspired by black people living in Africa. As a disclaimer, this is not a magic bullet to solve all your character design problems. I think every brief is unique and different, and your approach as an artist will definitely be different from my approach. But hopefully by sharing my approach, you could be able to learn one or two things that you could use to kind of fine-tune your own approach to character design. Every design process starts with a brief or a story. So let's go ahead and make one up for this series. After signing a Faustian bargain, a vindictive man, 30 years of age, is sent from the underworld to kill 1,000 people to regain his life on Earth. His name is Iku. His physique is imposing. He has shape-shifting powers. The time period is set in early modern era, 1500 AD to 1800 AD. The setting is fictional West Africa. The target audience is 13 years plus. So let's dive into the creative process. I begin by doing like very rough and loose sketches. So I use like a calligraphy brush with red color, and then afterwards I do like a black colored sketch on top of that. So this is the main character, and I'm just thinking about his pose, his personality, the silhouette and all of that. And I'm thinking about this middle character, this second character, as an option for what he morphs into. So he's able to like shapeshift. So I was thinking, okay, what if he shapeshifts into this guy and this other big guy? So I'm kind of working out the big guy and his anatomy, his body build, and making sure that it's different and unique from the other ones. So I kind of sped up this thing because it's really long. Like, this video is at least 5 hours long, so I don't want to bore you with the details, so I just sped it up. For those who are interested, maybe based on popular demand, I could leave a link, and then you could check it out if you want to. So thinking about him as a shapeshifter, I was thinking, okay, what if there's like some sort of identifier that we can give to him? And I was thinking about like using tattoos. So what if he's able to, like, no matter what he shapeshifts into, we still have like his tattoos intact. So if he changes into a woman, changes into a man, a boy, girl, old man, old woman, whatever, we still kind of have the same tattoo. So now I'm using like black to sketch like some details of the guy in the middle. So I'm doing like I'm designing 3 characters at the same time, so there's really no rule. I just wherever the creativity leads me, I could leave one sketch, like I could be right in the middle of one sketch and switch to another one, just so that I don't forget something that I'm trying to, because if I ignore something that comes to my mind, I could forget. So I just kind of like go back and forth with all of them. So at this point I'm looking at the big guy and I'm thinking, okay, what about his anatomy? What makes him unique, and how can I make sure that the his musculature is working, pushing the shapes at the same time as well, so that it still remains interesting and everything. So yeah, I just keep polishing the sketch. Decided to give him like a weapon, like he has 3 weapons, that tucked into his wrapper. So then I'm moving back to the original character at this point and trying to like work in the details of the sketch, the original sketch that I did. So I'm not like following the sketch, like I'm not following in it the original sketch. I'm just kind of using it as a guide to create something I think is more interesting, just pushing the shapes and making sure that the original idea is still intact, and that original idea is being pushed and made better. So this guy is for somebody who has come out of the underworld, we kind of need to make him look like really fierce. So I was thinking about weapons, like giving him like this huge menacing weapon. I used the reference for the weapon as well. So I'm just working in these details one after the other. Sometimes some things don't work, I just go back and forth. Like it's really like very, very iterative, the design process, at least for me. I'm not one that has everything worked out already in my head. I kind of have to figure it out as I go. So I decided to give him like a mask tucked into his wrapper, hoping that we could kind of use the idea of the mask as a set piece or a talisman that he uses to activate the shape-shifting powers that he has. So when he wears the mask, then he's able to shape-shift and all of that. So yeah, when drawing the fists, I sometimes I do have issues remembering exactly how the fist is. So sometimes I take pictures of my hand, or I even like hold my hand out and kind of take a mental note of the way my hands look, and then go back and draw it. So yeah, references are very, very important, because we're always learning, right? So I wasn't really feeling his face and decided to go back and work it out. And I'm happy that I made that choice, because the face ended up being better. So this is the face. I like this face because he has like a skull. It kind of looks like a skull. So I was looking at the hands as well, and I wasn't really feeling the hand. The hand just like hanging to the side wasn't really working for me. So I decided to make him like stretch out, almost like Shang Tsung when he says like, "Your soul is mine," that kind of thing. So yeah, that was the idea for that, and it wasn't a bad choice after all. So after this point, I just like went into the coloring. So I just do like a flat silhouette coloring. I just use like basic skin color. At this point, I'm not thinking about there's individual skin colors. I'm just thinking about the overall silhouette and how I can just kind of separate all these components so that I can go back and change the colors as I deem fit and all. So I've kind of separated all these different components: the mask, the wrapper, the weapons, the beads on his neck. That's the guy in the middle. The thing that's hanging over the big guy's shoulders and all of that. And then even while coloring, I still like go back and work out the anatomy as well, because sometimes I'm not really like happy with what I see, so I kind of have to do that. For the wrapper, I was thinking about red, because red is like a very strong, in Nigeria, red is a very it's a spiritually significant color. So I was just thinking, okay, if this guy is from the underworld, then it just makes sense for him to have red. For the patterns, I could have spent more time with these patterns. If I had all the time in the world, I would spend more time, to make sure that the patterns have meanings. But I was just thinking, okay, you know what, I don't really have much time. Let's see what we can do, to create something that is, that is cool enough, for this demonstration. So I kind of went with the triangle thing, and I was sort of referencing this as I was going, as I was designing this. But sometimes you use references, sometimes you use reference with caution. Like, you're not necessarily, sometimes even when you use reference exactly the way it is, it doesn't work. So I just was thinking about, how do I make it look better? And so for the guy in the middle, he's kind of like referenced from, the gods of the Benin, the king, the Oba of Benin. We call him Oba of Benin, but he's sort of like a king. So I was just thinking about the gods, but I mean, the gods don't have short wrappers. This is like really, really short. The wrappers of the actual gods are much longer than this. But then again, this is a fictional world. Like, we're not trying to, like, be historically or culturally like super accurate. So now I'm looking at the big guy and I'm thinking, okay, how do I make colors that separate him from the other ones, rather than just using the same red color. I was thinking of doing something different. So I thought about, okay, how about if we try an analogous color scheme, because in the color wheel, green and blue are sort of next to each other, green, blue, purple. So I was just thinking about that, and that's how I try things out. Sometimes I try a color, it doesn't work, and I kind of tweak it, and until I'm happy. So it's a very iterative process. So I kind of was referencing an actual wrapper, an actual fabric from the Ghanaian culture, or the Ghanaian tribe in Africa. So, and this is like the kente cloth. So I'm just like working in the patterns. It does take time to do patterns, but it can be fun, to some extent. So I was, kind of doing that and making sure that it stands out and the design is interesting enough, right? So that's usually how it goes. And then I thought about, okay, just let's add some more definition to this thing, and what if we give it like highlights? What if we give this like illustration like highlights? So I just started to highlight the characters, the edges, with like a rim lighting, and the rim light is sort of coming from the side, and I was also thinking about how the rim light will also hit the tattoos. It's actually not a tattoo, it's more like a scarification. So it kind of has like indentations in the skin and stuff like that. So I was thinking about how the lighting would hit that, just so that this is why lighting is important. Like this rendering is important, so that someone can, as you pass the design down the pipeline, people can get to understand what you had in mind. So I was thinking about the weapons, and just added some more definition to that. and just so that it can kind of pop. I also added some definition to the mask that is tucked into his wrapper. That's the guy on the left, the main character. And then I was thinking about, okay, how do we make this thing have a little bit more definition? Again, I'm not like rendering this thing to be like super detailed and stuff. I'm adding little details to define the form. So I made a correction to the arm. I wasn't really feeling that part, and then I just went in with like an extra layer that is set to multiply. The blending mode is set to multiply, and then I just work in the shadows, like the shadows to the characters. And these shadows are really important because they add definition to the character. I will do a separate video on rendering. This video is not about rendering, like I'm not trying to render. This is just all about design. When you're working in the pipeline, you may not be the one who gets to render your character. It could be sent down to someone else, it could be handed off to someone else, and the person gets to be responsible for that. So but then again, it's good for a character designer to know how to render, and I will do a separate video for that. So this is kind of wrapping up with the design, wrapping up by adding the shadows, the cast shadows, the form shadows. Yeah, so this is what I kind of came up with. Final, just adding little details to the form, especially the guy in the middle. And I think at this point I was kind of happy with where I ended up. And that's all for this video. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.